All right, let's talk about being a good person. We all want to be one, right? But what if I told you that the very thing we often call goodness is actually a counterfeit? Today, we're diving into this pretty radical idea that draws a massive line between everyday niceness and a love that truly, truly matters.
And you know exactly who I'm talking about. That person at work, in your neighborhood, maybe even in your family. They're the one everyone just universally agrees is, well, a great person.
I mean, they're the first to lend a hand, they give without thinking twice, and they've always got a warm smile. They serve, they're patient, they're pretty much everything we're told we should be. By all accounts, they are just incredibly nice.
Okay, but hold on. What if all of that niceness counts for absolutely nothing? I know, that sounds incredibly harsh, maybe even a little offensive, but this is the central question we really have to wrestle with. What if all that goodness, all that human niceness, has zero eternal value whatsoever?
And this is where the whole argument gets really serious. The idea here is that we've kind of gone astray. We've accepted a counterfeit. We've replaced God's actual definition of love with our own, much more comfortable idea of niceness, and we just assume that being a good person makes us right with God.
And here it is. The shocking truth cuts right to the heart of the matter. Not every action that we might label as love actually registers on that eternal scale. Some of our best efforts, our kindest gestures, well, they might just count for nothing.
So, let's break this down a bit. On one side, you've got human niceness. This is all about being a good person, treating people well, meaning no harm. Think of it as a horizontal standard from person to person. But on the other side, you have God's love, which is totally different. It's vertical. It has to be aligned with God's own character, and it's all pointing toward this higher goal called righteousness. That's what gives it eternal value.
And this just reframes everything we thought was the gold standard of goodness, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. You can help people, you can give tons of money away, you can be the most patient person in the world, but if those actions are totally disconnected from God's character and His purpose, they just stay in the category of simple and maybe valueless niceness. So this brings us to the most crucial point. If our standard for love is wrong, then what in the world is the right one? We have to get our heads around the standard for love, not as we've made it up, but as God Himself defines it. You know, the Bible never, ever says God is niceness, but it does make this incredibly profound claim. God is love. That little distinction, it's the whole idea. If God is love, then He's the source. He's the definition of it. We don't get to just invent our own version.
Just let that statement sink in for a second. It's really the non-negotiable bottom line here. Our expressions of love, our kindness, our generosity, they only get validated when they actually reflect the character of the one who is love. Otherwise, they're just something we made up.
So what is this character, this standard we're supposed to be aiming for? Well, it's defined as this really powerful and precise combination. See, God's love isn't just one thing, it's a dynamic mix of kindness and justice, and they're both working together for one single purpose, righteousness.
And here it is as a simple formula. This is the divine equation we have to understand. It's not just kindness, and it's not just justice. It's the two of them working in perfect harmony to produce something holy and eternal, righteousness.
And you can see why both are so essential, right? Kindness by itself, without a backbone of justice, well, that's just sentimental stuff that can actually enable destructive behavior. But justice all by itself, without a heart of kindness, can become so harsh and merciless. It's only when they're held in this perfect tension that they truly reflect God's character.
Okay, so this is where all the theory gets very, very real. And for a lot of us, this is where it gets really uncomfortable. How does this formula, kindness plus justice, actually play out in our relationships? So imagine someone you care about is heading down a path of self-destruction. The modern way, the path of niceness, tells us, hey, just love them, don't judge, be kind. But God's way, true love, it takes a completely different path. It says, because I love you, I will absolutely show you kindness, and I have to confront the very thing that is harming your soul.
So why the confrontation? Because love's ultimate goal isn't just to make someone feel comfortable right now. Its goal is to make them right with God for eternity. And you simply can't do that without truth. Niceness might make you popular, but it's a love that speaks truth that actually has the power to save. And this points back to a huge biblical idea. God's kindness is meant to lead us to repentance, to a change of mind, a change of heart. So if the love you show to someone never ever challenges them or calls them to turn from what's wrong, it isn't actually reflecting the purpose of God's own kindness. And this brings us right back to the big lie that so many of us have quietly believed. We think our goodness is some kind of currency we can trade with God. But this entire framework we've just walked through is designed to completely dismantle that very idea.
So the crucial takeaway is this. The standard was never be a good person. The standard has always been something more like be holy as I am holy. The goal isn't to achieve our own subjective level of human goodness, it's to be transformed to reflect the character of God himself.
Okay, so we've looked at the theory, we've looked at the application. Now, this is where it all turns from just information into introspection. It's time for us to ask ourselves some pretty tough questions. Seriously, look at your relationships, your interactions, your real intentions. Are you loving with a love that combines kindness and justice? A love that cares more about someone's eternal righteousness than their temporary comfort?
And here's the other option. Is it possible, just possible, that what you've been calling love is really just niceness? A desire to be liked, to avoid conflict, to keep things pleasant, even if it's at the expense of the truth?
Because make no mistake, these two paths do not end up in the same place. Human niceness, because it avoids the hard truths, ultimately leads to deception. But God's love, the kind that is willing to be corrective and truthful, that's the only kind that leads to genuine, lasting transformation.
You see, you can be liked by everyone you meet and still be completely unknown by God. So don't settle for the counterfeit. Pursue the kind of love that tells the truth, that restores what's broken, and that leads people back to God. Because in the end, that is the only kind of love that truly counts.